I brought my husband's phone in for repair. Kevin, the technician and longtime family friend, caught my eye, then quietly pulled me aside. "Stella," he said, voice low and urgent, "cancel your cards and change the locks. Immediately." I blinked, confused. "Kevin, what happened?" He turned the screen toward me. "Scheduled messages," he whispered. "You need to see this. Before I go further, remember to subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. City, country, or even your neighborhood. It helps more people find stories like this. I've always believed the smallest, thoughtless choices steer our fates. The ones we make half awake out of routine, trusting that tomorrow will echo today. That Tuesday in Portland, Maine, I made one of those tiny choices. On Robert's nightstand, his phone sat face down, the glass spider-webbed exactly the way he'd been grumbling about for weeks. I picked it up. Without a grand plan, only the gentle nudge of habit, I decided I'd drop it at Kevin's shop on Commercial Street and finally get it fixed. I'm Stella Hammond, 66. I've been married to Robert for 41 years. We raised our 3 children in a modest Victorian on Munjoy Hill, watched them grow, marry, scatter, then circle back for the holidays with our grandchildren tumbling through the halls. I spent 37 years as a librarian before retiring. Robert still practices dentistry 3 days a week, though he talks about full retirement so often the word someday has worn thin. By every ordinary metric, we're stable, comfortable, safe. That morning, he had already left for the office. The night before, he'd paced the kitchen in a loop of nervous energy, checking his phone as if it might stop breathing. When I asked, he'd turned on the smile he saves for anxious patients, the calm, reassuring one that floats above unease. "Billing issue at the practice," he'd said. "Nothing to worry about, Stella." Years ago, I learned not to press when he used that tone. Our marriage was built on mutual respect and carefully kept lanes. He steered the finances. I ran the home. He chose the large moves. I made life around them livable. It worked. Or I believed it did. Kevin's Electronics sits wedged between a coffee shop that sells scones the size of fists and a used bookstore that smells like paper and rain. It's the kind of place that survives on reputation and the slow braid of community trust. Kevin Torres has been repairing our devices for 15 years. His daughter joined my book club for a season. His wife brought me soup 3 winters ago when pneumonia knocked me flat. In a small city, that qualifies you as family. The bell chimed. Kevin looked up, reading glasses balanced near the edge of his shaved head. "Mrs. Hammond, what can I do for you?" "Robert's phone," I said, offering the device. "Screen's cracked. He keeps putting it off." Kevin laughed, an easy, companionable sound. "Leave it. Should be ready by 4. Passcode?" I said the 6 digits without thinking. Robert's mother's birthday. He's used the same numbers for everything forever. Simple, predictable. He's not a man who loves complexity. "Perfect," Kevin said. "I'll call when it's done." I filled the hours the way I usually do. Tuesday yoga at the community center, lunch with Margaret, 30 years of friendship, 1,000 small confessions, listening as she unpacked her daughter's divorce with the weary acceptance of someone watching fate catch up to a choice she warned about. After, I bought groceries. Salmon for dinner, wild caught, the only kind Robert will eat even when it's pricey. The kind that puts a small, boyish grin on his face. At 3:30, my phone rang. "Stella, it's Kevin," he said. "The phone's fixed, but—" The sentence thinned and broke. "Could you come in? Please. Alone." I'd never heard that note in his voice. Careful, almost frightened. The drive back to Commercial Street took 12 minutes. Age teaches you to recognize the instant the road forks under your life. My hands stayed steady on the wheel. My heart thudded hard enough to be counted. Kevin waited inside, locked the door behind me, flipped the sign to closed, and guided me into the back where he works with a constellation of tiny screws and lighted magnifiers. Robert's phone lay on the workbench, screen flawless and bright. "Stella, he said. First name, not Mrs. Hammond. Personal, not business. Listen carefully. Cancel the credit cards. Change the locks. Today. The room tipped. Kevin, what are you talking about? When I transferred data to check the screen, I saw something in messages. A feature most folks don't know. Scheduled texts. He winced. I almost ignored it. I wish I had. But once I looked, God, you need to see. He keyed in the passcode I'd given him. He opened the Messages app and navigated to a tucked-away option I didn't know existed. Messages set to send in the future. There were 7, all to the same number, all timed for the next 3 months. He handed me the phone. His voice broke on the apology. I'm so sorry. I read the first, then the second. By the third, my knees asked for a chair. The texts weren't tender. They were tactical. They were logistics drafted like blueprints, clean, clinical, rehearsed. The life insurance is in the safe. Combination 32-18-07. Payout, $750,000. Stella's signature is on file, no questions. I've been documenting her memory issues with Dr. Patterson, early signs of dementia, to establish pattern if anyone asks later. Will leaves everything to the kids, but I'm executor. I'll control distribution. 6 months, maybe 8. Grief will be expected. I'll play the devastated widower. No one questions a man who loses his wife of 40 years. My vision narrowed to a mile-long tunnel. The phone turned heavy, like a brick I could not set down. I scrolled to the final scheduled text, 3 months from that day. It's done. Funeral was yesterday. Everything went as planned. See you in Boca next week. Condo's ready. Our new life starts now. January 12th. In my husband's private calendar, I would be dead by January 12th. Kevin's voice floated back from a distance. I don't know who L is. I don't know the plan. But these messages... He's pre-writing your death. Have you told anyone? I heard myself ask. My voice sounded weirdly level. No, I called you. We should call the police, right now. No. The word came out iron. If we call now, what do we have? Drafts on a phone. He'll say it's dark humor, fiction, role play. He's a respected dentist. I'm a retired librarian he's already told people is forgetful. Who do you think they'll believe? Kevin pressed his lips together and didn't argue. We both understood the problem. I studied the phone again, the timeline of my death placed like a dental appointment on a tidy calendar. I need copies of everything, I said. Then you finish the repair like nothing happened. Can you do that, Stella? What will you do? I pictured Robert pacing the previous night, double-checking the queue like a pilot running pre-flight. Find out who L is, I said. Find out exactly how, and make sure the only funeral in January is for his reputation. Kevin photographed every message and sent the images to his encrypted email. While he documented, I forced myself to read and reread, to press through shock into focus. Robert had been laying groundwork for months. He primed our family doctor to create doubts about my cognition. He combed through finances, insurance, estate documents. He involved someone else, a partner or a destination. And he felt so certain, so convinced of success that he scheduled his victory messages in advance. But he also made the arrogance error men like him so often make. He underestimated me. He forgot librarians are professional investigators. We follow threads. We assemble timelines. We build airtight cases out of scattered facts. We endure. Now what? Kevin asked. Now you fix this screen perfectly, I said. Tomorrow, tell him the repair went smoothly. No data lost. And you? I'm going home to make dinner, I said, and slid the phone into my purse. Then I'm going to learn every secret my husband keeps. Outside, October laid gold over Casco Bay. The water glittered, beautiful, deceptive, like a marriage that had hidden a murder plot beneath calm weather. Robert wanted me gone by January 12th. He was going to be disappointed. I cooked the salmon by muscle memory, 4 minutes per side, lemon and dill, asparagus roasting quietly. The kitchen felt like a stage set built from my life. The white subway tile I'd chosen, the copper pots his mother gifted us, familiar objects under a new, terrible light. Robert came home at 6:15, precisely as he had for 4 decades. He kissed my cheek. His lips were cold. "How was your day?" I asked, voice even. "Long," he said. Mrs. Patterson needed a root canal. He loosened his tie with the habitual gesture of a man declaring himself off duty. "And yours?" "I took your phone to Kevin's," I said. "He'll run final tests overnight." I watched his face for any flicker. Panic, tightening eye corners, an intake of breath. Nothing. "Oh, thank you. I keep meaning to." He opened the fridge and pulled out a beer. "Kevin do his usual magic?" "Perfect," I said to the pan. He didn't suspect the betrayal in his pocket. Or maybe he'd set the messages and forgotten. Arrogance is forgetful. We ate at the long table that had once carried 5 dinner plates and a geometry of elbows. He chatted about a new assistant, the Red Sox's season, our son Michael's upcoming visit. Harmless conversation wrapped around quiet violence. Then, "I've been thinking," he said, setting down his fork. "Maybe we host the holidays this year. One last big family gathering before—" He paused, made a vague shape in the air. "Before what?" I asked, though I already knew where this was going.
"Before we get too old for this big house," he said smoothly. "I've been thinking, downsizing. Fewer stairs. With your memory lately."
He gave me the smile you offer a child. There it was. The groundwork, even at dinner. The narrative of decline. The plea that sounds like concern but files like evidence. "My memory is fine," I said.
"Of course,"
he replied, still smiling.
"I just want what's best for us."
He retreated to his study after we ate, his walled garden of dental journals and ledgers. I cleaned the kitchen in clean lines, then went upstairs and opened my laptop. Robert is a man of habit. Habits leave fingerprints. His email password was the same as his phone code. It had never occurred to him to hide logins from the agreeable wife who doesn't pry. Inbox. Routine. I dove deeper. Sent mail, trash, spam. 3 months. 6. At 11 p.m., I found it. A thread buried in a folder labeled Practice Management. "L. Hardy," the sender field read. "The contract is ready for your review. Once finalized, we proceed with partnership. I've attached the financials. The practice is profitable, more than enough for both of us." Partnership. Not merely a lover. Business. I opened the attachment and felt the floor of my beliefs drop. The valuation didn't match what he'd shown me on our taxes. The practice was worth nearly $2 million, triple the number I knew. At the bottom, asset liquidation timeline, January 2025. January, the month I was scheduled to die. I searched L. Hardy. 7 more emails. The picture developed like an image in a darkroom. L became Laura. Laura Hardy, business consultant specializing in medical practice acquisitions. The tone shifted email by email. Strictly professional at first. By the third, full of euphemisms for an imagined future. "A clean break from your current situation will make everything simpler." My current situation was me. In August, I've reserved the condo in Boca Raton. 2 bedrooms, ocean view as requested. We can close once your affairs are settled. Photos attached. I opened the listing. A salt-bright palace, white marble, floor-to-ceiling glass, the Atlantic spilling into every room. Price tag? $2 million. I didn't need a degree in finance to calculate the down payment. The practice sale plus my life insurance. I screenshotted everything and sent it to an email account Robert didn't know existed. I cleared my history. Then I slid into bed beside the man who had set a date for my death. I listened to his familiar breathing and wondered how many mornings I'd confused routine with safety. How many nights I'd mistaken the warmth of a body for the warmth of a soul. In the morning, I went where I know the stacks and the databases and the people, Portland Public Library. Stella! Marian Andrews, head of reference, my colleague for 2 decades, looked up, face opening. Miss us already? I need a favor, I said. Quietly. She heard the seriousness and brought me into her office. I told a trimmed-down version of the truth. Robert may be selling. He may be leaving. I need to research his partner. I didn't say the word murder. Not yet. I couldn't make that word live outside my head. Laura Hardy, Marian repeated, fingers flying. In 3 hours, we built a dossier that smelled like smoke. Age 42. Consultant. 12 practice sales in 5 years. Boston-based, suddenly relocated to Portland for a significant acquisition. She'd purchased a downtown condo overlooking the harbor 6 months ago. Cash, $800,000. Where does a consultant get that? Marian asked, and then she found it. Public trails linking the funds to an account owned by Robert's practice. Embezzlement, or he's bankrolling her, I said. Both roads led to the same cliff. Then Marian found court records. 3 years ago, Massachusetts, elder fraud investigation. Dismissed. But patterns speak even when courts don't. I'm 66. Robert is 68. He's being conned, I whispered. He thinks he's orchestrating my death. She's orchestrating the end of him. My phone rang, Robert's number. Where are you? Tight voice like wire. At the library. Come home. We have a visitor. Since you were too anxious to come to the office, Dr. Patterson agreed to a brief house call to review the cognitive testing on file. I haven't had cognitive testing. Yes, last month. Don't you remember? His voice softened into patronization. Stella, this is exactly our concern. He hung up. He was manufacturing a medical paper trail, enlisting our family doctor, building the scaffolding for my decline. If I allowed this, later, after an accident, no one would blink. What will you do? Marian asked. I'm going home, I said. I'm going to pass his test perfectly. Then I'm going to find the rest and take it apart. At home, Dr. Patterson sat on our sofa with a folder labeled Cognitive Assessment, Stella Hammond. What year is it? He began. 2024, I said. Tuesday, October 8th. You're wearing the blue tie your wife gifted you for your birthday. And you had salmon last night. I can smell it on your breath. Robert's jaw flexed. For 40 minutes, I answered every question. I recited numbers forward and back, drew a clock to the precise minute, named objects, recalled lists. Calm, civil, unassailable. Well, Patterson said at last, snapping the folder closed. You're completely normal today, Stella. Perhaps the previous never happened, I said. These records are fabricated. I picked up the file. Dated September 12th. I was in Boston that day at a library conference. I have hotel receipts, photos, attendance logs. Also, doctor, your letterhead is wrong. The address line says Suite 240. Your office is 204. Color drained from his face. Robert stood. You need to rest, he said. I need you to stop lying, I replied. He reached for my wrist, something he had never done in 41 years. Not hard, but shocking. You've been going through my things, he said, voice dropping cold. Your accounts were unlocked, I said, pulling free. You never thought I'd look. He recalibrated. Fine. Honesty. I'm selling the practice. Laura's helping. We're close. How close? Close enough to kill me? That's insane. January 12th, I said. I read your scheduled messages. He fell onto the sofa, hands to his face, then looked up with tears. I never meant for you to find out like this. I've been unhappy for years. Laura makes me feel alive. Get a divorce, I said. It's not that simple. He scrubbed his eyes. The practice is worth $2 million. A divorce would destroy me. So you decided to erase me instead? He tried for another mask. The messages were fantasy. We were role-playing. Don't, I said softly. I know about Boca, the $800,000, her history. His expression hardened to something unadorned. Then you know you can't stop this. I'm executor. With Dr. Patterson's documentation, I can have you declared incompetent. Not after today, I said. He smiled, small and terrible. He's my friend. If it's your word against ours, your paranoia speaks louder than the truth. If you keep pushing, I'll have you held for psychiatric evaluation. 72 hours. When you come out, you'll have a record. No one will believe you. I realized I'd made my own arrogant error. I'd confronted without finishing the case. What now? I asked. Now, he said, checking his watch. I make a call. Then we discuss how this ends. Amicably. Or I make another call. He disappeared into his study. A text from Marion blinked on my screen. Found something urgent. Come now, don't call. I grabbed my purse. Where are you going? He called from the doorway. Out, I said. You told me I had a choice. I'm taking it. At the library, Marion had a Boston Globe story open. Dental practice owner found dead in apparent suicide. Business partner under investigation. Laura Hardy's name appeared like a stain. 2 years earlier, Connecticut. Another dentist. Accident. Carbon monoxide. Same consultant. How many? I asked. 3 I can verify, she said. Maybe more. Robert thinks he's using her, I said. She's planning to eliminate him. You should warn him. Why would I snapped, and then saw Michael's face, Jennifer's, Michelle's. If Robert died, the story would tangle and strangle our children in ways I couldn't control. I need to talk to Laura, I said. Face to face. Her condo on Pearl Street was a cathedral of glass and brick with the harbor laid like a painting outside. I buzzed. Yes? The voice was smooth. Ms. Hardy, it's Stella Hammond, Robert's wife. A long pause. Come up, she said. 4th floor. The elevator rose with glacial patience, time enough to rethink everything. Too late. The door opened. Laura stood framed in white light. 42. Lines at the eyes that suggested both laughter and calculation. Gray threading dark hair in the expensive way. She was not standard issue beautiful. She was convincing, which is more dangerous. Mrs. Hammond, she said, stepping back. I've been expecting you. Have you? Robert called this morning. He's worried. Says you're acting paranoid, snooping, accusing. She poured 2 glasses of wine, offered one. I didn't touch it. He's concerned about early dementia. How convenient, I said. She smiled. Let's not insult each other. You know what's happening. The question is what you plan to do. I'm going to stop you both, I said. No, she said gently, like to a student who almost understands. You can't prove anything. Scheduled messages can be jokes. Money transfers are investments. Medical records, clerical error. I've done this dance. I'm very patient. Why tell me this? Because I always present choices, she said, moving to the window. Robert is going to kill you. Soon. Everything's in motion. But I don't need him after. He becomes a liability, a guilty man who might crack. Here's your option. Partner with me. We walk into the police station together, concerned wife, worried consultant. We lay out his plan, save your life, send him to prison. We sell the practice. You keep half, I get my fee. You live. Everyone wins. Except Robert, I said. Actions have consequences, she replied. Why would I trust a woman connected to 3 dead men? She didn't blink. No evidence, no charges. Careful timelines. And if you try to connect dots, you'll have to explain how you know, how you've been investigating me. It will make you sound unwell. Her phone buzzed. She glanced. Her eyes tightened. He's asking where I am, she said, tapping a reply. He wants me at your house, tonight. She looked at me. He's moving, likely planning it now. Pills? A fall? Carbon monoxide? Choose. Then we call police now, I said. And say what? That your husband texted me? She stood. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., we go together with curated evidence. Tonight, get a hotel. Don't go home. She reached for her purse. Panicked men make mistakes. Let him. She left me with the view and the echo of my own heartbeat. Marion slid into the booth beside me 10 minutes later at the coffee shop on Congress. I set a small library recorder on the table. Every word, I said. We got it. It's something, she agreed. What now? Now I go home, I said. Stella, she said tonight. Which means I need to be there to stop it and document it. If I don't call you by midnight, I added, take the file to the police. The house was dark except for the kitchen. Robert had opened a special bottle, the Oregon Pinot we saved for notches in time. 2 glasses already poured. He smiled when I walked in. Warmth on the surface, calculation beneath. Worried about you, he said. Sit. Let's talk. Where's Laura? I asked. His fingers tightened on the stem. You texted her to come, I said, to help you with staging. She's not coming, Robert. She's done with you. She got the money. Now you're alone, with a wife who knows. He set his glass down. The mask slipped. What stared back at me had edges. How much do you know? Everything, I said. Messages, money, Boca, her history, her plan to make my death look like an accident. I lifted my phone. And I have recordings. Enough for conspiracy. You're bluffing. I tapped play. Laura's voice filled our kitchen. He's planning to do it tonight, Stella. He blanched, then flushed a furious red. You've ruined everything, he said, quiet and terrible. 41 years, and you finished it in 2 days. You planned to murder me, I said. I plan to be free, he hissed, slamming the table hard enough to rattle the glass. Free from a suffocating life. Laura offered escape. Will you still do it, with the kids on their way? I lied cleanly. Michael, Michelle, and Jennifer will be here within the hour. I sent everything to my lawyer and the police. He stared, weighing escape routes and damage control. Then his shoulders sagged. You think you're clever, he said, but you don't know Laura. She doesn't leave loose ends. You and I, we're both loose ends now. Glass exploded. The kitchen window shattered inward like ice. We dropped. Footsteps crossed the porch, deliberate. The handle turned. Laura stepped inside in black gloves, carrying nothing visible, wearing capability like a weapon. On your feet, she said. Laura, Robert began. You texted me 6 times, she cut in. You made me a co-conspirator in writing. Did you think I would live with that liability? She reached for the knife I'd used on Lemon. Murder-suicide, she said calmly. Husband kills wife, then himself. I'll provide the narrative. Concerned consultant. Decline noted. Community nods sadly. The end. They'll investigate, Robert said, voice shaking. They always do, she replied. And I always help. Carefully. You miscalculated, I said. She smiled. You assumed I came home alone, I said, holding up my phone. I've been on an open call with Marion Andrews for 20 minutes. I pressed speaker. I'm here. Marion's voice came through, thin, resolute. And I've recorded everything. I've already called the police. For the first time, Laura's expression cracked. She lunged, I threw the hot coffee in my mug straight into her face. She screamed, stumbled. Robert shot for the knife. I kicked it under the island. Out, I told him. Front door. We ran through the living room, past 41 years of photographs, and out into cold October air. His hands shook too badly to drive. I took the wheel and flew down Munjoy Hill, calling Marion. Are they actually coming? I asked. Units en route to your house, she said. They've been listening to my recording. Stella, are you safe? Getting there, I said. Meet us at the station. Bring everything. At the Portland PD, the night sergeant took in our wrecked faces and waved us through. An interview room. Fluorescent lights. Officer Morgan, Detective Melissa Morgan, listened. Expression growing flintier with each sentence. Maine is a one-party consent state. The recording is admissible. Officers moved on our house. An APB went out for Laura. We gave statements for hours. Robert's story leaned heavy on manipulation and regret. Mine stayed anchored to verifiable fact and timestamps. You did exceptional work, Detective Morgan said at last. Most victims never see it coming. I'm not most victims, I said. By dawn, my children arrived, faces pale, eyes furious and frightened. I showed them everything. The scheduled messages, financial transfers, the paper trail of fake medicine, the earlier accidents. Dad? Michelle said, voice barely a thread. Robert started to speak, stopped, sagged. I made terrible mistakes, he said. I was weak. She manipulated me. You scheduled texts about Mom's funeral, Jennifer said flatly. Michael's hands shook. You don't get to blame everything on someone else. 2 hours later, police arrested Laura at the airport gate to Miami. She asked for a lawyer, then tried to cut a deal, painting Robert as architect. The investigation would be sprawling. Conspiracy, attempted murder, fraud, embezzlement. Morning brought police tape around my house. An officer asked if I had somewhere to stay. For what it's worth, he added quietly. You're the bravest person I've met. Calling your friend, recording, fighting back. You saved your life and maybe his. He's not my husband anymore, I said. Robert's attorney called. Robert would plead guilty, cooperate, and not contest any marital assets, house, retirement accounts, share of the practice sale. Tell him, I said, that sorry is not a bridge back. 3 months later, a judge read a list of Laura's convictions that took 5 full minutes: conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, fraud, and more. 25 years. Investigators, now emboldened by witness statements and our evidence, traced patterns in those earlier deaths. Marion's recording was the nail no defense could pry loose. Deputies led Laura away. She looked back once, face a mask of cold hatred. I did not look away. Robert received 12 years, reduced for cooperation. The judge didn't hide her disgust. You chose murder over honesty, she said. My children sat behind me. When Robert turned to us, none of them met his eyes. The divorce finalized 2 weeks before. The house, accounts, and my share of the practice sale, via a court-appointed receiver, secured. He didn't fight it. I listed the Munjoy Hill home. We took the offer from the young family with 2 children. Their letter was full of joy and plans. It wasn't the highest bid, but they loved the house the way the house deserved. Kindness still counts. Local news covered the case. National outlets called Woman Outsmarts Husband's Murder Plot. True crime podcasts asked for interviews. I said no. This isn't entertainment. It's my life. Kevin testified about finding the scheduled messages. His calm credibility anchored the timeline. Afterward, I told him, "You saved my life." "You saved your own," he corrected gently. I just held up a screen. I moved into a smaller Harborview condo, 2 bedrooms, one for me, one for guests. Marion helped me unpack, telling library gossip and wedding plans for her daughter. Kevin brought a housewarming present, a new laptop, already configured. "For your next investigation," he teased. I said I was done with mysteries. That wasn't completely true. I still needed to solve who I was without someone else's shadow. I joined a book club that argued and cared about footnotes. I started yoga teacher training, something I'd wanted for years. I volunteered at the library teaching digital literacy to seniors. I went on careful dates, a widower from the club, a retired professor. Nothing that required shrinking to fit. I discovered I like deciding dinner at 9 p.m., or skipping it altogether. I like silence that belongs to me. 6 months later, a letter arrived from Robert's prison. I almost threw it away. Curiosity, the same impulse that saved me, won. He called himself a coward who nearly murdered his own soul. Said he'd traded truth for fantasy. Admitted Laura didn't hypnotize him. He chose the lies because they made him feel alive without effort. He said I'd always been the strong one. He hoped I was happy. He hoped the children might someday forgive him, though he didn't deserve it. I folded the letter and put it away. I didn't reply. Acknowledgement is not absolution. 1 year after the night when glass became rain and everything changed, I stood on my balcony and watched the sun stain Casco Bay orange, then gold, then red. My condo behind me was small and exactly mine. Books I love, photographs of faces I choose. My phone lit up. A text from Jennifer. "Dinner tomorrow? Meet Kate's parents?" I smiled. "Yes, I'd love to," I wrote back. At 66, I learned survival isn't merely not dying. It's refusing to let anyone, husband, consultant, doctor, community, dictate the borders of your worth. Age is not weakness. Experience is not obsolescence. Women who've lived 6 decades know patience, pattern spotting, and the quiet power of underestimation. While they rehearsed my ending, I was building a case. While they congratulated their cleverness, I was already 3 steps ahead. I am not simply alive. I am free. Now tell me honestly, what would you have done in my place? Drop your thoughts below. And don't forget to subscribe and check the video on your screen right now. There's a twist in it I think will surprise you.